Hey everybody, my name is Chris Deferio here with Leaderboard Coffee. I am the host and owner of Keys to the Shop podcast and consulting. This podcast, the Keys to the Shop, has been around for about 5 years, just about 5 years now. In January, it will be. And we've done quite a few episodes, all focused on bettering the retail coffee, specialty coffee community. About 500 and a half, I think like 550 episodes, 1.5 million downloads, lots of great topics discussed. Myself, I've been in the business of coffee in specialty retail specifically for about 22 years now. And in that time, I've been a barista, a trainer, manager, operations manager. I've done consulting. I've done all sorts of things in the coffee shop space. And so Keys to the Shop Consulting is essentially just a way to sort of curate the best ideas around specialty coffee and running a great shop that I've learned from my, failures and successes, as well as, just learning from others. So we highlight a lot of other experts from around the coffee industry and subject matter experts from outside the coffee industry as well. My own accomplishments in the career of coffee that I've had is, a finalist in the US BC, 3-time latte art champion, being able to be at the ground level of lots of small to mid-sized coffee shops and be a real key member of a team growing those things. And I've been a speaker at Coffee Fest since 2004, giving lectures, and I've been able to train. At this point, it's probably over 1,000 people, over 22 years, whether they are baristas or managers, and now as a consultant through Keys to the Shop, helping people better their businesses or start their businesses on the right foot. So there's a lot of stuff that I've done and learned. And today I wanted to talk to you about competition. And of course, that's appropriate considering we are a competition. Leaderboard is a competition in a sense. It's fun. It's friendly. It's there's stuff at risk. I don't want to lose. You want to win. But when we're talking about competitions in coffee, we're talking about trying to get a trophy. And there is something about trying to achieve a goal that necessarily narrows our vision and our scope. And in specialty coffee, I'm going to break this down for first the professionals in the audience, and then we're going to address people who are consumers of coffee, enthusiasts of coffee, but not necessarily people making a living in coffee. Today, we're talking about how, going for a trophy can lead to atrophy, and specifically what things can atrophy and things you need to look out for as you are pursuing awards and recognition in the industry. So first, talking to the people who are professionals, the main point here is you have to ask yourself, what is the purpose of this competition? For a lot of us, competition is a way to validate the skills that we have because we don't feel validation in the places where we work. Whether that's because the people who we work for are bad at communication or providing resource to help us see the progress that we've made, or we ourselves are bad at recognizing that does exist in the place where we work. We just have this grass is greener mentality that looks out to the greater industry and longs for continued higher goals and comparing ourselves against our peers across the country, across the world. And it's always going to be a part of being a professional of any industry, especially now that we're really connected. The question you have to ask yourself, though, is what is the goal of this competition? For a lot of people, they would say it's professional development, but you could get professional development simply by focusing on what you're doing right now in the coffee industry. And so it's personal development also. It's a lot of, you have goals to become better as a professional and to overcome some obstacles that you bring to the profession. So if you're naturally a messy person, competition oftentimes makes you a cleaner professional, and it just kind of changes who you are in life. I know that's true for me. I'm a lot cleaner in my normal life than I am in than I was prior to taking part in competitions. And so you have to again, you have to ask yourself the question, what is it that we're trying to accomplish here? And my guess is that for a lot of people, it does. And I know was true for me. I discount how much I can learn from where I am and overestimate how much I am going to get from competitions. It's being on a stage, it's receiving the accolades of peers and feeling bolstered, from the community. It's like a drug. It's like a new kind of caffeine, We've got so used to caffeine, maybe we're pursuing competitions as a form of high to motivate us. But the question is that sustainable? Because remember, only one person wins in these competitions. And you can have your personal bests and everything like that. But in the end, if you're only competing to try to validate yourself as a professional, you're probably going to be disappointed. And I've seen people just break down into a massive, just weeping tears because they've sacrificed so much of not only their work, but their family and their personal sacrifices notwithstanding. It's just a lot of sacrifice to do this. And you put a lot of emotional energy into it, only to find that somebody from outside your environment and another part of the country or the world is considered better than you. And if you're not grounded on solid ground, right? If you're not rooted deep into something more meaningful than just achieving a win in a competition, this is probably an unhealthy pursuit for you. So I always encourage people, you need to, if you're going to pursue competition, you need to be just fine with whatever happens in the competition. Personal bests are great metrics to determine, what you got out from the competition. Being able to draw a straight line right from the competition to your everyday life in not even just professionally, but in your personal life as well. These are great ways to sort of win without winning, to make sure that you're going to get something out of this no matter what. And if you don't win, it's not going to crush you. But sometimes we don't even realize that we have this internal need that we're trying to fill until the day that it happens that we don't win, and we feel like we shouldn't even be in this profession and we're not validated as professionals. So the question is, if you don't win, what are you going to do? If you don't win Leaderboard on season 4 or 5, whatever, are you a bad taster of coffee? Probably not. It's a challenge. It doesn't mean you're less than in terms of tasting. Doesn't mean you can be better at tasting. Oh, maybe. There's always going to be somebody who does something a little bit better than you, but that doesn't mean that they are better than you. Do you get what I mean? Like they're not worth more than you. Don't conflate performance in competition with personal worth. So look after the first things. Look after your day-to-day career and make sure that you're not using competition as some kind of it can be like a toxic validation for you that will lead you down a path of being disappointed because you're constantly comparing yourself against other people and ignoring the validation that might be coming to you every day. I've done this a lot where people say, I love, the drinks you make. And I would say, I can be better. Or baristas do this with latte art a lot where, they will serve a drink and they will not be happy with the latte art. The customer will love it so much. And then they'll say so. And the barista will say, well, it could have been better, but I'm glad you like it. And it just shows sort of this twisted logic that we have around professional development, that we have disallowed ourselves from recognizing the quality of our current work and the current validation and affirmation that's around us. And we atrophy those things. That's where the atrophy comes in. As we pursue a trophy, the atrophy sets in. And when crunch time happens, we don't have much of a foundation. And so we find that we need to constantly be plugged into the community outside of our local community even more for more validation. And it just keeps going and going. and it's not. I don't think it's healthy. As an owner, you need to make sure that this could be a manager or an owner. There's a lot of money that's spent in competitions, a lot. And at this point, it could be up to tens of thousands of dollars spent pursuing world titles. And I'm not here to say that your business decisions are wrong. However, I do want to say that the complaint a lot of retailers have about their environment, like their baristas, the culture, is that people are not as engaged as they want them to be. And one of the first things they reach for in terms of trying to get people engaged is outside activities rather than actually improving the life that they offer to the people within their walls. So I would encourage you to think about, if you're willing to drop thousands of dollars on pursuing competition and bringing a barista to a competition, question whether or not that money might be better spent improving the lives of all the baristas in your shop by giving them all that much more of a raise or even a bonus using that same money. So if you decided you're going to budget $3,000 to $5,000 for a competition, and it's apparent that there's some need in the shop, you go ahead and spend that money. People see that your priorities are on these recognitions for your business, for your brand. And I know there's long-term strategy in that, but I question whether that's always the best use of our funds and how it actually translates to improving the lives of those who are working within our walls. And we complain about having staff shortages, not having engaged baristas. And baristas will tell you there's lots of things in the coffee shop that could be improved or fixed, but are not yet. We are spending a lot of money on these competitions that could easily have fixed that knockbox. And the priorities are just, it's better for us to be recognized for doing a good job by those outside our walls than it is for us to be recognized as good employers by those who work within them. And you have to take an honest assessment of whether or not that's you. Now, if you know your house is in order, your coffee house is in order, and you are doing your utmost, and the values are clear that it is first that you take care of them as well as you can, and then you're going to go to competition. Same advice as before. Make sure that you are drawing a direct line from that competition to your business and know what you're going to get out of it in the long run, even in the short term, so that everybody knows this is not just some frivolous pursuit for the ego of whoever designed the new bags or sourced that particular coffee and stuff like that. It is something that we can all celebrate together, and we know what that the owner's values, the operator's values are in line because we feel taken care of. We know that the space is taken care of, and now we're going to pursue a good food award. We're going to pursue a world barista championship title or something like that, and feel good about it because we know all along the way there's been integrity practiced. Now, there's a lot more that can be said about this subject, I'm sure, and I'm probably bringing up a lot of questions in your mind. So that's good. It's good to think about these things. I want to talk to consumers a little bit too, because this is not just a problem with baristas and owners. This is also a problem, I think, that we pass down to consumers who interact with our brands. We teach them that they should try to achieve certain levels of sophistication for tasting and appreciating our coffee, and we narrow the scope of who is allowed to taste or enjoy our coffees. So in our pursuit of competitions and the esoteric way that we pursue specialty coffee today, we teach people that they're not allowed to enjoy coffee unless they can appreciate it the way we do. And if you're a consumer, I would say take our marketing with a grain of salt. Yes, the bag says persimmon. It says light cocoa with orange honey blossom notes, orange blossom honey notes. And you might not taste that, and you might think, I don't really feel like I'm a good taster because I don't taste what my favorite barista tastes. When they recommended that coffee from the shelf, they said, I love it because it's got jasmine and lavender, black tea, aromatics, and all that. I don't taste that. So I must be the problem. And maybe at a certain point, you might be able to pick something up, but it doesn't mean that you were wrong before. We have kind of seeded the ground through marketing to allow people to I would say disallow people to enjoy coffee on their own terms. Again, in a weird way, coffee people, professionals, want to validate themselves through their marketing and use the opportunity of interacting with customers as a way to show how much they know about coffee, rather than equipping customers and consumers like yourselves to be able to enjoy it effectively. Whether you're using the right phrases or not, is it doesn't really matter that much. Do you enjoy the coffee? I would say, as a consumer, you should learn to enjoy a variety of coffee, taste a variety of coffee, and figure out what you like. You will probably need to ask questions about it, and you sort through all of the different ways that coffee presents itself through various brands. But when you find a coffee that you like, try not to let somebody else's opinion from the professional world make it so that you can't enjoy the coffee that you know you love, but then you feel wrong for loving it. I'll tell you that I like a good dark roast, and there are lots of professionals, especially young professionals in coffee right now, who would internally at least scold me for liking that. But as I grow older in coffee, I'm a little bit less likely to care what other people think. And it's funny because the less I care about what other people think, the more I enjoy coffee. And isn't enjoying coffee kind of what we want to do? And that's why we're in coffee. So we can be our own worst enemies, and we can start to try to create these goals for ourselves, future focused. I want to get better at this. I want to, pursue this goal. Like, my setup could be better. My tasting prowess could be better. But we forget about the present, and we actually, I would say shrivel up, atrophy our ability to enjoy coffee in the moment without having the gears turning about these aftertaste. Is it dry? Is it a full body? Is it well, I gotta get my journal out and taste this coffee. Oh no, now it's cold, so now I gotta go buy an ember mug. And we worry ourselves out of our love of coffee, and it gets kind of out of control. So to consumers, I would say, stay in touch with your love of coffee while you're pursuing a variety of coffee. And don't forget that professionals, while we do this for a living, we are not necessarily so expert as to be able to tell you what you love and be able to validate your particular tastes. Our goal, now addressing everybody, the goal here is to present coffee very well and to have you enjoy it very much consistently. And how that takes shape is, up to the individual. And the only thing about pursuing different goals and different levels in competition is we have to remember that it has to be fun. That's what I love about Leaderboard. It's fun to me. I felt some pressure. I was like, oh God, I want to taste and figure out where this is from. But when I was trying to figure out where it's from, I realized even I'm learning new things in this. And it's actually kind of fun. It's not something that's going to weigh heavy on me. If I don't do well, I'm probably not going to do well. And I'm okay with that. But there was a time where I might not have been okay with it. I want you to get to that point sooner where you can, as a professional or as a consumer, stay grounded. Root yourself deep in some kind of a stable knowledge of who you are, and don't let competitions and the pursuit of them atrophy the first things that actually are more sustainable and create a healthier environment for enjoying coffee in the first place. My name is Chris Deferio with Keys to the Shop podcast and consulting, and thank you so much. I'll see you all later.